Hello, everyone. It's time for another edition of Adventures in Careerland. I am your host, Adriano Magnifico. I'm the career lead at the Riel Arts and Technology Center. Very cool place where students step off the beaten path of the high school conventional traditional space and decide, I want to check out skills. I want to check out where I fit. I want to check out opportunities for me. And there are 13 programs in the Riel Arts and Technology Center that include the Applied Business Management, Automotive Technology, Baking, Pastry Arts, Childhood Educator, Electrical Trades, Information Systems, New Media, Plumbing. Opportunities for students to really think about applied, technical, and apprenticeship programs to augment the excellent education they've had in their high school experience. So they've learned to read and write, and now they want to know what to do with that reading and writing and arithmetic. So really good place to be, really full. Every time we have an open house for parents and students, the place is jammed, and we're getting lots of interest because I think people are beginning to understand that there's not one way to make a great living and to find a good life. And it's got to connect to who I am, what's important to me, what I value, what kind of skills I have, what kind of skills I want to acquire. And then thinking about who values what I bring to the table outside of the school system. So the Arts and Technology Center is a very cool place that helps students do some of that thinking. And we also have a very cool program here called the Connect Your Dots program that gives them an extra leg up on some of that reflective thinking you need so that you can make great calls, proactive calls about what the next steps can be in not just a job, but in a space that seems to connect to who you are. And I'm in the broadcast media program podcast studio right now. And that's one of those cool 13 programs. And I'm with two co-hosts. Oma, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
You're
how are
doing
you?
Good. I'm good. Now, what are you working on today? So a lot of stuff going on in this building today.
We're writing up for our website, ourselves, working on Canvas and stuff.
A question for both of you, but I'll first introduce Zach. Zach, how are you today?
I'm good.
Okay, and you scared me saying, I think I'm tired today. And
I hate to say it, but I'm tired, but that's not going to stop me today.
All right.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right, the old Gen Z, I'm tired. Not today. Not in this town. I like it. Attaboy, Zach. Now, here's my question to you both today, just to get us all thinking and pondering about life's eternal mysteries. Who's the big influence in your life? Who's helping you make the path towards your life, ambitions, goals, dreams, whatever they are? Who's a big influence in your life? Where are you getting the extra support from? Zach?
Mostly my ambitions are my own. I do it like I'm trying to do in life. But the people supporting me to achieve those ambitions is just my family. Mainly my dad, really centers me to where I want to go, and gives me, sometimes as a kid we don't have a clear idea of how to get to the places we want to be, but I think it's important, and he provides the guidance sometimes that I need.
So what does that person provide for you then? Like you said, guidance. Is it just without him, would you feel really lost?
Not lost, but I wouldn't know how as much to get where I want to go. And he provides a lot of wisdom too, which I think is important, that you just get from experiences and living longer in life.
So it's parents. The parents are helping you.
Mm-hmm.
Oma, how about you?
I agree with Zach. My parents, teachers, my friends.
Mm-hmm. Who's the big one though? Where's the one you get the most from?
Myself.
I know yourself, but okay.
My parents, for sure.
Most of your parents, because you're bearing out what the research says. It's parents who have the greatest influence in you. Sometimes the parents don't know enough, though. That's what some of the research shows too. And so you have to seek other spaces. And so, Oma, you kind of spilled into it a bit, where you said, I go to teachers, I go to other spaces, and maybe career development people and those kinds of opportunities. But it is the parents. So you two are living information about the proof.
We're living just statistics, yeah.
Well, you're living the stats, man. And that's what it's all about. So so that's a problem or not, if parents are the big lead for you?
I think it's a good thing when the person you spend the most time with at home is probably your parents. It's probably good if they know enough to be able to give you that guidance and wisdom. I think obviously not everybody is as fortunate to have people in their home that provide that guidance and wisdom, but I think it's important to also seek out other sources of guidance and wisdom, like from coaches, teachers.
Oh, you're getting smarter, Zach. You're just getting smarter.
Thank you.
You were nothing. You were a peanut of thought when we started this podcast, and now look at you. Now you're like, we climb a mountain and we want to hear what Zach has to say. It's amazing. Oma, any problem with that?
No, I totally agree with Zach.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's try it on. Hey, we got a special guest today. I ask you that because I always want to know what you're thinking. I'm always writing articles about what students are thinking, and the point of this latest article I'm writing is we need to start listening to you about what you need. And we're getting lots of data and research, and you are exemplifying the research. We're getting it from parents. So we need other pieces here because parents don't always know. They come from their own background and think this is the way we did something, especially if you're an older parent like me. So good on you guys for digging things out. But you've also chosen this space, right? You've chosen the Riel Arts and Tech Center. That's a career pathing move in and of itself, right? Because your buddies are still back in the buildings from where you came. And they're probably still questioning, what are you doing here? Why did you go there? Are they still doing that, Oma?
Yeah.
They still are. Why? Like, what holds them back from coming or doing that extra thinking?
I don't know. I don't think most of them are into trades. I feel like they have like a sense of.
But this isn't trades.
Like university is the only path.
College. Yeah. After college, get a job, work 9 to 5, and that's it.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, that's not true. I guess most of my friends are either taking trades, and I think in my friend group there's actually a couple kids that did come here. So there's a lot less, I think, questioning of why we came here than maybe other people. If I was friends with other people that maybe are that university is the only path to. Do
you still feel like that?
Job?
University is the big path?
No, I've never felt like that. I've always felt like.
You two don't. You feel it amongst your peer groups? University is the big path?
No, I don't feel that way.
Peer group.
No.
How about your peer groups?
They do.
Yeah, they do, eh?
Yeah.
It's interesting. My mom and back in my day, my mom was desperate for me to go to university because she thought that was the route. That's the way you're going to make yourself. And that's completely changed. I think that has completely changed. Anyway, thanks for that. We'll talk more. Special guest today. We have a very unique guest. Honestly, I ran into this guest when I was playing Santa Claus at the Norwood Community Club. And
you're joking.
We just started. This is a true story. And we just started talking. He can elaborate more on this if he wants. He can embarrass me if he likes. But when I play Santa Claus, I'm in disguise. I'm incognito. And I met this gentleman because I knew his wife, because she helped to organize the Santa Claus gig. And she called on me to be Santa Claus. And I've been Santa Claus for, 15 years. It's one of the favorite things I do every year. And I'm talking about Tim Coates. Tim, how are you? And Tim is a teacher at École John Henderson School, which is a junior high teacher. But it belies what this guy's really about, because we're going to get into what he is, what he does, what he thinks about. Tim, how are you, sir?
I am good. How are you?
I'm dancing and singing all the time.
Mr. Wonderful over here.
Mr. Wonderful. I jump out of bed waiting for the day to start.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, do your students call you Mr. Magnifico? Because that sounds awesome.
What do you guys call me?
I call you Mr. Magnifico.
Yeah. Some guys.
If you don't answer after a couple times, I'll just start saying Mags. Yeah. But no, I try to keep it respectful with Mr. Magnifico and professional.
Tim, it's a tough name to have. It's a tough name in the opening until they truly see that the name justifies the means, right? Mm-hmm. Until they truly see it in action. Okay, so now you're from Gabriel Roy. You went to school at École Gabriel Roy, right?
Correct, yeah.
Give us the full name of that in your accent.
So the full name of the school is Collège Régional Gabriel Roy.
Gabriel Roy was a famous writer from Winnipeg. In fact, her house is a museum on Deschambault in St. Boniface?
Yep.
Okay, so whenever I ask, I love that you're from Gabriel Roy, because there's lots of students in this building who come from Gabriel Roy, who come to the Arts and Tech Center. That's an option for them. And whenever I ask them, do you know who Gabrielle Roy was? Because I studied her in high school and also in university. I said, you know who Gabrielle was? He goes, no, I don't know. Well, isn't there a plaque or something in the building where you might teach one of her books? No, nothing like that. The world's going to heck.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I learned about Gabrielle Roy in grade 11, so maybe they
Pretty
just
cool.
didn't get there yet. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, but they're here. Yeah, you never know. I think reading's going by the wayside, though, Tim. I see less and less kids. I was talking to a group of students about how much have you read this year? What books have you read this year? And I'm seeing your lips cringe there. Your lips cringe up a bit. And we're not getting a lot of reading from students anymore. I'm not sure if they're just skipping out. Even when I taught English for a lot of years. Even when I taught it for a long time, I'd make them read the books and then check if they read the books with these horrible little checking tests. And of course, they scramble to read something called Cole's Notes. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Cole's Notes?
Spark Notes now.
Now they're Spark Notes, Cole's Notes. And I always thought, well, Magnifico, they're not, that's awful. You're getting them to read abbreviations. They're still reading. They don't get it. Cole's Notes is still 50 pages thick. So they went from 200 pages to 50 to 75. I'm still the winner.
I hate to admit this, but this year in my ELA class, the book we were reading, I actually read it in my grade 10 ELA class. So I just wrote all the tests and all that off of memory from the year before that. I didn't reread the book.
Well, at least you read the book once.
I did.
What was that book?
It was the Indian Horse.
Very good.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Very good. Oh, you read that?
I just don't.
No, I didn't read that. I read a different
you've heard
book.
of it somewhere.
Yeah.
I've heard it's a good book. I think that's the way we're going to start living our life around here. So what have you read? Well, I've heard there are some excellent books out there. I think that's the way to go, Oma. I think you're going to go far. I think you're going to go far with that attitude. So, Tim, tell us, you're a very unique character. I started chatting with you in my Santa Claus suit about who you are, what you do, and you're a teacher, but you have a past as a physicist.
That is correct.
Okay, so what's going on in Gabrielle Roy School that promotes this sense of, I think I want to get into the physics of life? What's going on in your head when you're in grade 11 and 12?
I don't even know if I knew I wanted to do physics in grade 11 and 12. I always liked science. I took all three sciences, math, physics, and chemistry, although chemistry is garbage. And
that's the organic fruit of life, my man. What are you talking about?
Chemistry's stupid.
But I noticed, you know what the weird thing is, though? We have a program called My Blueprint, which is a large online career management program. And you can put your courses into grids and just to check out what courses you need for different programs around the country. When you take chemistry out of your program, for whatever reason, your opportunities go down exponentially. For whatever reason, chemistry has this rep or it's a prerequisite for so many programs.
Interesting. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either until I saw the chart go down, the bar go down when you take chemistry out. I don't know why.
I mean, it has so many applications to so many different fields that it makes sense that chemistry, more so than physics or biology, would be applicable to more fields, right? It's kind of in the middle of the two.
Yes. Anyway, you get into physics. So when and you're a math person, and did this come easily to you?
I mean, I had a relatively easy time in math, and then in university, I got my butt absolutely whooped by my first year calculus teacher, who probably the best teacher I've ever had. He retaught us all high school and elementary school and middle school math in 2 weeks, and then I understood it better than I had coming into his class. And then just assignments after assignments and explanations and work, and really pushed us to understand what was actually happening instead of just doing the practice by rote.
And that's what it was. You find high school does that a lot? That's what I found. That's the only way I got through math was I learned how to do the questions and learned how to substitute variables.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of students like that where they're not understanding why what they're doing is what they're supposed to be doing. They just go, okay, step 1 is take this. Step 2, move it here. Step 3, write down answer.
Well, it's super interesting that you said the best teacher you ever had was someone who kicked your butt. How important is that? And what do students need to understand from that, what you just said?
I mean, a good teacher should push you, right? Like don't want to be the same walking out of that class as you are walking in. If you have a better understanding, a better appreciation, and not just for the topic, but how to learn in general, right? That's the important part.
And why you're learning it.
Exactly.
So did you actually get into this professor showed you the way to understand why this was important?
Yeah,
and did that ignite you more and say, I want to do this more?
Oh, 100%. Because of him, I wanted to do math as like a career. And then I ended up taking more and more math courses. And while I was doing that, I was taking physics courses as well until I hit have you ever heard of Math 55?
Math 55. Is that a retirement age for math, or is that a financial plan?
No,
I'm thinking about it. Maybe I should try the Math 55
It's
program.
supposedly the most difficult course at university.
Oh.
And so I ran into that course at the U of W. It's called, what is it called? Advanced Calculus and Analysis. And that class made me realize that I'm actually not smart enough to do math research. It takes a different kind of brain.
How many are in that class?
So we started with 22, I believe. And then by the time the first assignment was due, we were down to 10.
Like, what is this, 2 weeks? I'm out of here?
Yeah, and then I think 4 or 5 of us made it past the first exam, and then I believe only like 3 or 4 of us actually finished the course. And I was the idiot child in that course. Like I was.
Did you finish it?
I finished it. I got it. I worked harder on that class than any other class. I actually have a stack of Post-it notes like this thick, fully written front and back, memorizing almost the entire textbook, and I barely got a C+.
Could you have become that person by putting the 10,000 hours in?
There was one type of question that we were doing where you wanted to prove this big, long thing. And you started out with a really simple equation, and then you went through all these steps, and then at the end you got this proof for that one simple equation. But because you picked a very specific beginning equation, you needed one extra line of math to prove it for all equations that exist. So it was like a really clever way of proving something. And what I didn't understand is, how do you figure out that beginning equation? How do you start off and choose that equation? And then my professor said, well, you just look at it. And I was like, what do you mean you just look at it? Because there's, between picking that equation and answering the question, there's like 7 or 8 pages of math. And then he goes, well, here, let me do another one for you. And he does it, and he writes the beginning equation. I'm like, why that equation? Why this one? And then my classmates look at me like, well, it'll work. And it's like, how do you know it will work? I'm looking at this. I can't see that it will work. And they somehow can just do that 7 pages of math in their head, intuitively understand that equation will get them the answer.
So that's a Matt Damon thing from Good Will Hunting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like
you know what I'm talking about, you two? Matt Damon.
No.
You guys got to watch this movie.
I think there's
It's
a lot of
fantastic.
things you want us to watch.
There's
and
a lot of
look
movies.
at.
My Minions is another movie you must watch. Along with the original Snow White, you must also watch
Matt Damon.
It's called Good Will Hunting, I think.
Good Will
Good
Hunting,
Will
yeah.
It's fantastic. I guarantee you'll love this movie. And it's about a math prodigy who resists it the whole time because he comes from a broken home, and they try to nurture him into the math genius he could be. And it's a riveting. With, like, when you see a movie like that, are you right into it, like A Beautiful Mind or A Good Will Hunting?
Yeah.
Because you get it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't have that mind, but you get it. You get what they're going through.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I'm not like that because I'm not this brilliant math genius, but I know lots of people who are like that. When I was taking this analysis Math 55 class, the people in that class, I'm assuming you guys know who Sheldon Cooper is from Big Bang
Yes.
Theory.
Yeah.
Big Bang, yes?
Yeah,
No, come on.
No.
Come
Never
on.
seen The Big Bang Theory? Oh.
No.
Okay,
it's like
well,
the
he's a
most
genius.
popular TV show.
It was.
Yeah.
It's awful.
These people make Sheldon look like normal. Like, they are far, far weirder in reality than Sheldon is in fiction. It's wild.
Is that just a natural state of mind? Like, there's just a weirdness to this? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just, if you can't think at that level and it's a minority. Does that look kind of weird?
Oh yeah, like their brains were broken in some special way that let them do math in amazing ways that I never could. But it almost feels like they became so logical they couldn't understand other stuff either. Like one of them literally said, I was like, "Hey, do you have any plans this weekend? Hanging out with friends?" And then he looked at me and said, "I don't see the need for human contact." I was like, sorry, what?
Goodness.
That is Big Bang, though, right? Isn't
Yeah,
that the
that
Sheldon
sounds like
character?
Sheldon, all right. Yeah.
Human contact. All right. All right, that makes me kind of happy and sad at the same time. I'm not sure what to say on that one. But you're still a pretty good math person, and you're gravitating to physics. Why physics? There's lots of math out there, but why the physics piece? Because that's the part in high school too. Of anything I could do in math, I was lousy at math. Physics pulled me in a bit more. Why did it pull you in?
Because physics lets you do stuff with the math. It's not just solving equations, and you don't really understand why until you get up into higher level math courses. It's like, oh, this means this, and now it becomes interesting and clever. Like you need all of that knowledge in order to get to a point where it becomes interesting and understandable. But physics, you can see right off the bat, it's like, oh, if I do this, I can figure out how fast a car is going, or what kind of collision is going to happen, or
Yeah, it's total problem solving, right?
exactly, yeah.
Like that's what I always thought about physics too. Like it was so practical, and you might be you're going out in the hallway and playing with the ripple tanks or some crazy thing like that, right? Or throwing things off the building and checking out their trajectory and how fast they're going. I found that super interesting because it was more hands-on. Is that nuts? Did physics feel more hands-on than the regular math?
Oh yeah, I got to play with lasers, I got to play with uranium, I got to play with lots of stuff doing physics. It was awesome.
The physics you're gravitating toward the physics. You've tried the heavy math thing. I didn't know there was a course like that. That sounds so cool.
It's impossibly difficult, but I did love it because we went from the beginning of math, like, hey, things can be different sizes. You can have smaller things the same size, and things bigger. And you start from that and you go all the way up and prove calculus from those original statements. So like, I know why all math works now. I only have to do it once because I proved it that time.
Well, I think I want to go for coffee with you or not. I'm not sure. That could be. What are you guys talking about? Oh, the origin of math. Oh my God. Okay, I'd rather talk about Hamlet. That's the stuff I'm into. But it's that's an amazing thing when you're in that exploration mode and you're gravitating to something, right?
Yeah.
That's what I hope for every student, where they begin to gravitate to something in a space that makes them feel more purposeful, that more alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, did you feel alive doing that stuff?
Oh yeah, like, and that's why I kind of liked almost doing 2 degrees at once, is I got a chance to try math and physics, and then you don't know whether you like something or not until you try it. And then I reached this point in math where I was like, oh, you know what? This isn't for me. I liked all the math before this, but I can't do this. But I can still do this physics thing, which I really enjoy, so I'll keep going along with that.
Okay, so you're total science and math guy.
Yeah.
So here's the weird thing. You are a member of the Sensible Chuckle Theater Company. So you have this interest in the arts and theater.
Correct.
So what led you to that space? When you're immersing yourself, you have 2 degrees and all of this science and math. What leads you to the aesthetic side?
Well, so my brother and I both did improv at Riel, and after high school, he continued doing improv as an adult in the French improv league called LRSDTV at the CCFM, and he really enjoyed it, but he missed being able to do plays because he'd taken drama in high school as well. And so at some point, he kind of asked, like, hey, would you be interested in doing a play with me if we could get into the Fringe? And then so we applied, and eventually the Fringe accepted us. We won the venue lottery, where the Fringe just gives you a lottery. It was actually the University of Winnipeg Theater that we got, which was very cool. So
No, that's the one. Just so you're aware, our 2 co-hosts have no idea what the Fringe Festival is.
No.
Right?
No.
Explain what the Fringe Festival is. I love the Fringe. I go to it every year, every summer for about, how long is it? 10 days or 2 weeks,
Yeah,
right?
2 weeks probably.
2 weeks. It's a spectacular theater in the downtown of Winnipeg. In fact, it's what a downtown should be. If
Our
you can-
downtown is definitely not what a downtown
No, but
should
I'm
be.
telling you, during Fringe time, it's fantastic.
Okay.
And that's what a downtown should be. And if we get more of that, if we could replicate the downtown, if we could turn the downtown into a Fringe atmosphere, you'd love going down there all the time. Talk about what the Fringe Festival is.
So yeah, it's basically like a 2-week long theater festival where anyone can put on a theater show, and they put it under the Fringe banner, and the Fringe puts out a brochure with all the different plays happening. There's, I don't even know, anywhere from like 50 to 100 plays happening, and you just go and see a bunch of different plays, choose what you like,
And
what
it's
you
cheap.
don't like.
It's cheap. Like for 10 or 15 bucks, you see a play. Because if you go to MTC or the Warehouse, it's like $100 for a play now.
Yeah.
For decency. So you could spend an afternoon going to 1 hour plays. They're generally about 1 hour, right?
Yeah.
Because they can be experimental. They could be off the wall. I've seen some of the most amazing things at a Fringe Festival. My favorite is still when they took old Star Trek episodes and they redid them in the Fringe for the hour. The Trouble with Tribbles, I think they did. It was just fantastic. You don't get Star Trek, do you? No, okay.
I do.
Yeah.
My family's big on Star Trek, so I do. I actually know that episode.
The Trouble with Tribbles?
Of course I've seen
Good
that.
for you.
Guys,
Good for you.
I do not know. Sorry.
Almost
I'm
in a
with you. I
different
don't know
world.
that episode.
You don't know the Trouble with Tribbles? I think it may change your life.
They're the
Oma, I
cutest
think it'll
little
change your
kids
life
ever.
if you watch
Yeah.
The Trouble with Tribbles.
Is that like
Trouble of Tribbles.
The
The
Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, keep that in
You
mind.
can look it up on YouTube.
And
just-
what was
probably-
the other one? It was like the other one he wanted us to watch.
Beautiful
Goodwill
Mind.
Hunter.
Goodwill
Yeah,
Hunting.
Goodwill Hunting.
And then
Yeah, okay.
okay.
I know
Yeah,
you're not
got
going to
it.
watch them and you're humoring me
Yeah,
now.
no, I'm not watching.
You're a beautiful person just for humoring us, Oma. Thank you very much. I'm not watching. I like how you're playing along. That's excellent. So to talk about the theater experience, though, Tim, you are a scientist,
Yeah.
and you're teaching at the university too, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And I'm looking at this. You won an international physics competition. The only group at the University of Winnipeg, your team, received the silver ranking. UW, the only Canadian university in 2017 who won this. So you're a smart guy doing interesting stuff with science and math and physics, and then you go into the theater space.
Yeah. And I played an idiot in our first play too.
You played an idiot.
It just
Ironic.
Yeah, an absolute moron cop who couldn't So our first play was called a most daring murder mystery. In parentheses, Tom did it. So in the character introduction, Tom is the murderer. He has a big splash of blood down the front of his shirt, and I am not able to solve this very obvious.
So you're deconstructing this thing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the fun is watching you. That's a tough role to play.
Yeah.
Because the problem with comedy, it's obviously a comedy,
Yeah.
is you have to take yourself seriously on stage or the comedy doesn't work, right? That's the irony of comedy. You can't be laughing at yourself up there. And so the audience will chuckle through that. So you've done this a few times. You said you've been, because you're a venue, and the Fringe works like this, you guys. You want to be in the Fringe, you go into a lottery, and they pull your name out and say, hey, we'll offer you a Fringe venue, because they have a series of venues. But you brought your own venue to the table.
Yeah.
So you have special consideration. They usually take you right away, or is there a lottery for those guys too?
So as long as you can bring your own venue, then you're good. But the Fringe is literally so popular, there are almost no available venues for the Fringe. The entirety of downtown is booked.
So why don't we use my garage?
Because it's not downtown.
Well, we're pretty close, no? We live in central. You and I live in central Winnipeg. The beauty of the Fringe is you sell your own tickets. You make your own money, isn't it? You pay a small fee to the group, right? Obviously, some percentage to the Fringe organizers because there's a team there. It's run out of the Manitoba Theatre Centre. And I've worked with the Fringe, sending students to intern in the Fringe to run different parts of it. I've had 10 students go there. Amazing. Over the many years.
Yeah, last year we actually performed at the MTC.
Oh, you were on the MTC stage?
Yeah, the main stage.
Well, you brought MTC to
No. We last year we won the lottery, and because of that we were like, okay, we need to go big. We have like 250, 300 seats that we need to fill. And so we did this big production called Let's Kill a Dragon. And it's 4 adventurers who are just awful at their job. And in order to keep their guild membership for the Adventuring Guild, they need to kill a dragon.
Well, there's a movie like that right now that's going to the theaters where they're fighting dragons, and this kid doesn't want to kill the dragon because he befriends the dragons and sees some great character of the dragons, and I don't know what the movie's about. I just saw the trailer and I thought, okay, so it's kind of like that. So are you a math and science person at heart, or does this theater feel something in you that needed to be filled?
It absolutely feels something need to be filled. Like, it's fun to go out and be stupid and make people laugh. And that's kind of like the driving principle behind all of our plays is we go up there and we're idiots, and then you get to laugh at us. So like in Let's Kill a Dragon play, my character was the copyright wizard, because I was a copyright lawyer and a wizard, and I was making sure we weren't infringing on any other fantasy copyrights like Lord of the Rings or what have you.
So do you sit and write these scripts with your brother?
Yeah, so he'll typically come to us with an idea and a partial script, and then it is me, him, and then our close friend, Sarah Guindon, and then we all kind of workshop the script over a month or 2 until it's in a complete state, and then we start learning our lines and doing it.
See, that's amazing. Do you take this script anywhere other than the Fringe? Like, do you go to a French school and do it? Do you translate it into French?
No, not at the moment, but we have been trying to get into the North American Fringe. So then we would go into like Edmonton. And
Edmonton's the big one, right?
Yeah.
And of course, do you want to get to Edinburgh one day?
I mean, that's the dream, right? But
which is the big one? It's Edinburgh, right?
Edinburgh, I think, is the biggest one, and then Edmonton is the biggest in Canada.
Yeah, and then we're right up there, though. I think we're second
or third. Yeah, I think it might be New York, which is also one we'd like to be able to do.
Oh, that'd be amazing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And all the venues, oh my gosh, you'd be off Broadway spaces and doing all kinds of neat things.
Yeah, and we have an idea for a play called Harry Potter Off Broadway, where we do a very bad rendition of Harry Potter.
Well, you'd have to get by the copyright issue there.
Luckily, we have a wizard for that.
Exactly. That's perfect. I'm thinking of you as this Renaissance person. Is that the way you feel? Like you can do the math, you can do the science, you can do the problem solving, but then you have this aesthetic side you're working at, where you're multifaceted. You're a Leonardo da Vinci type. There's a book I read, and when you got me thinking, I don't know if you've ever seen the book, but it's an old book I read in 1982. Somebody gave it to me. It's called Einstein's Space and Van Gogh's Sky. And it was the coalescing of the mathematical genius and the artist. And it's an amazing book about realities. And I can't remember exactly what it was all about, but I remember in my mind thinking the connectivity between that was amazing in the book. You love this book, I think. I have it somewhere. If I can dig it up, I'll get it to you. I think you'd love this book. There were parts of it I didn't even understand because the Einstein part was beyond me sometime. Not completely, but in many ways. But it's a cool book. But you seem to have that sense of there is an incredible connection between the science and the art. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And how would you characterize that?
I mean, when you're doing especially things like research and research in science, you need to be very creative to find answers to problems. So like this international physics competition you were talking about.
What was the problem?
I'm trying to think. Which one was that? That was...
Because you won a few awards on this, right?
Yeah, I've won it 3 times.
This particular competition?
Yeah.
I'm holding up a page for him to see because I read it off.
Yeah, so that was the first time our university had won silver, and then we won silver 2 more times, and then after that I graduated and I stopped competing, and I don't think they've won silver since, so I'm kind of lucky that way.
Well, because you're the hockey free agent, you had to go to different places, and they got to sign you to the big money, Yeah.
So that particular problem was trying to get to Mars using a solar sail, so basically like a big reflective sheet of tinfoil, essentially, and you just have that in space, and then the light from the sun hits it, the light bounces back, pushing that sheet forward, and then you just drag along a like a payload behind it. but then your sail weighs a certain amount. So how do you maximize the amount of stuff you get to bring to Mars, minimize the size of the payload, but also get there as fast as possible? So,
And I bet you that took a lot of math.
oh yeah, it took, I think we wrote 3 separate programs in order to solve this problem. Each of us wrote one of them.
So I see you with colleagues here. Have your colleagues gone off? Are these the people who just become physics professors? You're a physics prof too at some point.
Yes, I was. I taught at the University of Winnipeg. Both of them, I think that Kelsey is doing her PhD in some sort of physical chemistry. And then Rafi is doing his in probably some sort of theoretical physics. We had the same advisor for our theses, so I imagine he's doing theoretical physics.
So why didn't you go off into PhD world and become a prof?
I have a daughter who lives here, and I would have had to move away in order to become a prof, and I was not willing to leave my daughter behind.
Oh, that's a commendable
really
thing.
sweet,
Good
yeah.
for you. Look at these guys. They're melting. These 2 co-hosts are melting.
Tim, I have a question. So when you were in grade 11, like what was your goal, and like how would you say you've accomplished like those goals? And if you could change anything about what you've done, how would you change it?
I would probably say that I didn't have a goal. Like I was kind of just moving forward and doing different things and seeing what I liked and seeing what I didn't like, see what worked for me, right? And like I've said, you got to try things to know whether they work for you and whether you like them or not.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's a great attitude, though. Like
Absolutely, yeah.
When I talk to students now, when they say I want to be this, I say, well, be careful with the needle in the haystack approach to choosing something. And I'm always trying to espouse, look for spaces, not for items or particular jobs. Spaces that seem to connect to you. And I like your attitude of just try it, and see what sticks to you. And whatever sticks to you, there's a new space where that is really valued. And then add these little jigsaws of you, these pieces to you as you move forward. So is your jigsaw getting complete now?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like I kind of realized at some point that I really liked solving things. Like I find that very enjoyable, very fun. You get to like exercise your mind and try to figure something out. So whenever I'm approaching something now, I always approach it as, how do I solve this problem? And even now, like teaching grade 6, right? I know kids in general hate math. So how do I solve that problem and make them enjoy math? And it's the same thing I was doing when I was researching physics. I have a problem. How do I solve this problem? I was at the lake this weekend and the boat was broken. How do I solve that problem? And it was just framing everything in a way that I enjoy doing things has been really helpful for me to, just enjoy life more.
See, that's an interesting one, because I talk to many students in the division. I do career development with many of them. I often ask them, how many of you really like math? And the hands don't go up there. You're getting maybe a third of them, of the hands going up. And for whatever reason, the school system beats down kids in their math interest. Why do you think that is? Is it a quality of instruction? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but sometimes is it a quality instruction, or is it just a bigger emphasis on the aesthetic side, the expressive side, versus the scientific or logical or problem-solving side?
I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but if I had to guess, I would say that there is, on the part of teachers, a lack of understanding about what makes the math they are teaching interesting, right? If you just try to teach someone something and you don't try to make it interesting, it's not going to be interesting. So the students aren't going to enjoy it. So for every topic that I am teaching, I try to find, like, why is this interesting? How does this apply to you? Why would you care about this? All those different kind of things. And then also try to present it in a way that makes them more interested in what we're doing.
You know what? That's a great point. I think the performance piece, that's a part of you. You like to perform, is an important part. I remember teaching math in grade 9 because you had to. Sometimes when you're a teacher, you just have to teach them. I'm an English and history and geo guy and drama person. But I remember having to teach math, and the challenge all the time for those students, and I knew it was, and it became the running gag, is what's Magnifico going to mess up there? And watch carefully so you can catch them at it. They really got to know math though. Like one guy came in and said, "Are you trying to screw up there?" I went, No, I'm genuinely screwing up there. They went, well, they're into it. And they're learning it because they're looking to see where you're going to screw up next.
Yeah, and that's a way to make it interesting for them, right? It's
inadvertently.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a valid strategy. You're making it interesting. You have the kids interested in being like, all right, who can find his mistake first?
Exactly. And that's what it was. And sometimes they'd find it really quickly, and sometimes they'd actually be on a bit of a roll, and then they'd find this mess. And it was always kind of interesting. And when I remember when I was student teaching, when I was doing that, and when I left, I wasn't a math person, but they said, try it. One girl came up to me and said, "I really liked your math class." And in my brain, I'm going, I made every mistake you can imagine there. She goes, and she kind of said, "Yeah, but you know what? I liked that we were all kind of playing with it together." And I thought that was an interesting message to me. It resonated with me, not just about math, but about any course you're teaching. If you're all in it together, there's a greater sense of accomplishment, greater sense of productivity, greater sense of teamwork all the time.
Oh yeah, collaboration is super important in math. And sometimes, like, one of my favorite activities to do with my students is I give them a big set of problems and I go, "I'm not teaching you guys how to solve this. This one's on you."
And they got to dig.
And now they all have to work together as a class and figure out, what are we supposed to be doing here? How are these answers supposed to be written? How do we even solve this?
We actually do the same thing in our broadcast class. Like, our teacher won't actually teach us how to edit something. Like, he just gives us a video and says, learn to edit it yourself and do it via trial and error.
Mr. P in there does that to you?
Yeah, he does.
I like it when he throws things at you.
Yeah, he does.
I like it when we do our canvas and I'll just say, "What are you going to put here?" And I find though, like there is a lot of research about curiosity in students, which you've obviously seen, right? And how engaged and how motivated they are as they age through the system, and they become less and less. The numbers are stark.
Yeah.
From this, this creativity interest, this problem-solving interest, this genius potentially, and there actually been some studies that actually show that they are actually a level of creative genius with the amount of questions and digging and probing they do, and then it becomes whoosh, by grade 12, it's so diminished because they're used to the regurgitation of the material, right?
Yeah, well, they lost interest, right?
Yeah, totally. And they also learn in the creative spaces of math to do it by rote.
Yeah.
And to just figure it out. What's the pattern? How can I just fit it into the pattern? And I've never quite figured out math. I still don't know why we do it, except to understand when I'm at Superstore, something's worth, if something's worth $4.50, but if I buy 2 of them, it's $4.30. I think that's a good thing. I think. And sometimes they'll try to hoodwink me, right? I've seen this where you'll see at Superstore, "Oh, buy your first one at $4.50. All the other ones afterwards are $4.55. I've actually seen that at Superstore. I went, what? And if you're not even paying attention, you're in trouble. So even the small math can get you in trouble and mess you up. Anyway, you're sitting in a space where you are talking to grade 11s and 12 students. What advice would you give them?
It's a lot more fun when you're interested in what you're doing. And I would argue you should be going for your interests instead of going for outcomes. So being a first-year university teacher, I see the amount of kids in my class, 40% of them are pre-med, 40% are going to be teachers, and then 20% is every other career that comes after university.
You talking your junior high class?
No, I'm talking about in when I taught university.
I taught university, right?
Like, because everyone wants to be a doctor because doctors make a lot of money. Doctors are well respected. Everyone wants to be a teacher because teachers get summers off. It's a rewarding career. And then 20% is every other career. Well, 40% of those kids don't become doctors. They're looking at the outcome they want rather than what they actually like doing, what their interests are, what they're good at, and then trying to backwards engineer, find out, well, where should I be going if these are my skills? This is what I enjoy.
Well, exactly. What truly connects to you?
Exactly.
And what are the pieces that are sticking to you all the time? Yeah, I'll share the canvas with you, the career canvas we do around here, which tries to speak to that reality of the chaotic quality of career development. And I always talk about the needle in a haystack. It's chaotic. You don't know where you're going to wind up. And there's no linear path that you're going to see from now till the end of your life where you went, that's exactly the way I planned it. Perfect.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen, especially in this day and age.
Yeah. Do you know what they call a person who becomes a doctor at 50? Doctor. Doesn't matter how old you are. You got the thing. You're done.
That's right. And whether or not it was even in your mindset at 20, you're just an evolving person all the time. Things just keep moving and evolving. And as you seek that best self, I always talk about when you seek the truth, you're trying to find the truth about who you are. And it's a tough time, never parts easily with that information. You have to play with it. You have to dig at it. You got to pick at it. It's got to hurt sometime too, right?
Yeah.
What was the toughest thing you had to do? You talked about that crazy class you had to take that separated the beautiful minds from the
regular minds.
I was going to say the beautiful minds from the close to beautiful minds. Okay.
I mean, that was definitely intellectually, that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do by a mile.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Here's your challenge to you. Can you make math really quick, accessible, and immediately recognizable? Like that's where the expressive has the advantage, right? Because you feel it, and you feel it right away, and it works for you. Yeah. You can see it. You can watch a YouTube video and go, oh yeah. Or you can watch or you can read a great passage in a book, which I think you guys should start doing, or watch good movies, which evidently you're not, Oma. But those are the things where we have the feeling that's so easy to access and connect with. Where in some of the sciences and stuff, how can you get to that space?
There's a great quote that I believe is by von Neumann, who was a very highly regarded physicist. And he was talking about quantum mechanics in this context, but I think it works for math just as well, is no one understands math. You just get used to it. And I remember thinking in every grade, we would do something and I would be like, this is impossibly hard. How does anyone understand this? And then the next year, you're doing it again and you're like, this is trivially easy. Why are we doing this? And then every single year that happens.
So you step outside your comfort zone, kind of.
Yeah.
You fight through it. You feel the pain and struggle of it. And that's the great moment when you actually learn stuff is when you fight through the pain, right? When you spend that time working the guitar, so you get the note. Yeah. And then you wondered why you're working on the next harder note and you're wondering, why did it take so long to learn that last note? It's practice. It's like the light went on. It just worked. And now it can grow.
And plus, like, you can't see in yourself your own improvement day after day after day. It's the same way, like, I like my daughter, seeing her grow up, I never thought she got bigger because I saw her every day. But then my nephews, I see them, I'm like, oh my goodness, you've grown so much. And my sister goes, but no, not really. They're about the same size. And it's the same thing with skills, right? You're working on math and you keep working on the same problem or set of problems or topic for a month, and you've gotten better over that month, significantly, measurably better, but you don't notice it. Yeah, you don't feel it. Until the next year when you've had that gap, and then you do it again, you're like, oh, this is stupidly easy.
That's an interesting point about the space in which you feel really good about it, right?
Yeah.
It's the pain and struggle, where the aesthetics, the arts, you feel it pretty quickly. Like you get that sense of achievement, of happiness, because it's made to be that way. It's the arts.
I mean, I also do writing. I recently published a short story, and I have found I have no idea whether I'm improving or not. I will change something in my writing, and I'm like, this could be worse, this could be better. I have no possible idea.
I know, but as you get better at it, you understand what resonates with an audience.
Yeah.
Because that's what the arts does. It resonates quickly, right? The hard work that went into it will create this resonance that people connect with quickly.
Yeah.
I've written a few short stories too, and it's when you nail it, sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's so annoying. You're like spending forever trying to write this one story, and you're like, oh, that's such a good idea, and everything is perfect, and I just can't get it. And then another time you're like, oh, I wonder if I should do this. And then 3 days later, it's way better than the original story. Like,
of course.
Come on.
Whenever I write, it's crap. It's absolute crap. And I wonder, I have a great idea, and then I start writing it, and I'm thinking, why did I start this? This is awful. And then 10 drafts later, it wins an award.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that's cool. Anyway, hey, you're an interesting guy. Oma's got something she's going to share with you. Oma, explain what this is and what it's all about.
Okay, it's called Quick Cues.
Okay.
And it's this or that questions that we made to get to know you better.
Cool.
So just quick answers,
Off the dome. Got it.
Yeah, okay. Dining or takeout?
Dining.
Coke or Pepsi?
Neither.
You have to pick one.
Okay, Coke.
Driver or passenger?
Driver.
Singing or dancing?
Dancing.
Burgers or hot dogs?
Burgers.
Adventure or relaxation?
Adventure.
Concert or sport game?
Sports game.
Sports game, yeah. Wings or ribs?
Ribs, for sure.
TikTok or Instagram?
Again, neither, but I guess I'll go Instagram.
Learning with books or podcasts?
Books.
What's the best podcast?
What's the best podcast?
Yeah.
Can I say this one?
This one.
Well, that was the right answer. And for that excellent answer, we can now upload this onto something we call the internet. So thanks for that. Hey, Tim, you are an interesting guy. Like your life and process and what's connecting to you is a great exemplar for how people can find themselves with a little effort, with a little curiosity. I think you've been a curious person all your life, haven't you? Like you kind of follow your nose on stuff. Like I'm not about finding the passion. The passions drive me nuts when kids say, I got to find my passion. I always say, just follow your nose and see where it takes you and just keep trying things and be passionate about the things you try.
Yeah.
And it'll find itself. You don't have to follow a passion. The passion will follow you once you're immersed in it. And so you've been that person. So what's the next plan? Like, what are you thinking now? Do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to write more text? Do you want to go back to university? What are you thinking about right now?
I have a bet with one of my friends to see who can publish a book first. So I'm currently writing and working on my writing and trying to get better at that so that I can win this bet.
Okay. So is there a timeline on it for you?
I mean, it's been about 12 years since we've made this bet.
So there's no real urgency to this one, but...
And he went to university for creative writing too, so he should have a huge advantage on this.
You know what the problem?
Alan Chorney, I'm calling you out.
Okay, there it is. There it is. And you know what? It's just, if he's a creative type, sometimes I have spaces where I'm writing all the time. I write articles for the paper and write articles for publication and stuff, but I'm trying to get some thoughts together for my own publication. I've just got too much crap in my head. And that's where you have to separate. I need your scientific brain to separate the wheat from the chaff all the time, because that's where I think if you're going to be that writer, you have that mindset that will give it the logical space and the problem solving piece to move things quickly. Honestly, the bright light attracts me and I'll run it off and I'll read it, or I'll grab the book and I'll just keep reading and reading. I'm just so immersed in this when I should have been working on the other stuff. And it just adds to the burden. So I appreciate your creative writing friend who may be just immersed in a lot of stuff. When your mind moves in that mode, it's hard to turn it off. Do you find it, do you have difficulty turning your brain off sometime?
Yeah, it takes me like an hour or 2 hours sleep every night. My brain never shuts off.
I know. It's almost like in my own brain. I have to distract it from something so that I can find just a normal, quiet place. I have to ride my bike now to turn my brain off and just feel the breeze in my head. So it's a interesting way to live and think, but it's a fun way to live and think too. Yeah. So I don't know where you guys are at in your own life. I appreciate you being here. 2 co-hosts.
Can I ask the co-host a question?
Yes, absolutely.
What are the things that you are most interested in? Like, what are your, not to use the word passions, but like, what's like something that's interests you, and like, where do you think that might lead you?
I want to be a lawyer and a dancer, but yeah, I'm interested in being a lawyer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a big athlete and like sports guys, so I think that's led me here. Just because there's a lot of media opportunities in sports. So I'm really hoping if I can't pursue actually playing, which obviously playing you can only play for a certain amount of time. I would love to be in sports media no matter where my career takes me. So yeah.
Cool.
Very cool. No, these people are in the middle of it, right? They're thinking about it. They're trying to figure it, but they made a great call coming here, testing themselves in different spaces, because this is the broadcast media program where they have to, produce news. They have to copyright. They have to write commercials. They have to create logos. They have to constantly share with a public audience. And I love when you guys are operating the cameras and running along football fields in provincial championships like this in the winter. Like, you're getting a sense of the pieces that seem to stick to you. And you have to keep doing that. That's what our canvas is around here. We do a career canvas, and we're trying to see what sticks. But that's good. I'm glad you asked that question. Glad you were here. You're a smart guy. Something cool's happening to you right now. Going to continue to happen to you. I expect that book in the next, 6 months or so. Now that we put a bit of a deadline on it. Because you got to work with deadlines. If you're one of those guys, you have to have deadlines in your brain. Yes?
I hate deadlines.
I know, but
I like waving at deadlines as they pass me by.
But it's really the
Right, this guy is my teacher then.
But really, the only thing that's gonna kind of tie you to something sometimes is when a professor says to me, or a teacher says to me, or someone I'm working in a workshop says to me, I need that by this time. You got it. And I'll get it. So the self-discipline for me is always a thing. I suspect you're going to battle. That's going to be a demon. You guys, I can already see it's demons in you about the self-discipline of deadlines and stuff. It's a hard thing. But as you move forward, you're going to get smarter and faster and decide on what's important to you. You do the things that are important to you. You do the things you want to do. Anyway, we're coming to the end. We had the producer wave at me in the window over there. And you know what? We've had a great talk about life learning. Great guest, a Renaissance man who thinks in expressive, transactional, and problem-solving ways, and has done a lot of cool things. So congratulations. Kind of for finding that path, for finding the stuff that matters to you, for continuing to be on that journey around connecting and seeking the truth, because that's what you're on, man. That's the path. It's amazing. And
life's more interesting when you're interested in things.
That's a great line. And you know what? Thanks to my co-hosts here.
Thank you
Good
for
stuff.
having me.
And praise is in the podcast media producer booth, helping us out. Appreciate that. And you can find us on our social media platforms and all your favorite podcast platforms. And that's it for another edition of Adventures in Careerland. Woo!
Thank you for having me.